Hi, this is Big V. It is Thursday evening. The league call is happening right now. We're going to be joining them here in a minute. They're going through their ridiculous announcements. I have avoided recording their announcements because I think it's actually just money hungry right now. They're talking about their San Diego event. They went through their the reach out list and all that stuff, inviting people to join with that and all that nonsense. I think it's important to talk to other members, but I wouldn't push the issue. It's been a nice day. It hit over 70 degrees here in Oregon. Nice and blue and sunny sky still. This call started at 5 o'clock Pacific time, 8 o'clock Eastern time. It is 5:22. This call has been going on for 22 minutes, and they're still talking about this nonsense event happening in San Diego in September. So, and you can barely hear the guy talking, and all, so it is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, April 15th and April 22nd. Those are Wednesdays. April 15th is bypass. There was no Wednesday morning programs. There are no Wednesday morning programs April 15th and April 22nd. There is no 7:30 or 10 a.m. programs. April 14th, Tuesday evening at 5 o'clock, we did our NeoThink mini show, and at 7 o'clock, which was last minute planning, we did our NeoThink primetime show on Tuesday evening. If you are connected to me on Facebook, you're welcome to watch those programs. And I actually read, in one of those programs, I read out of the Super Puzzle. So please go and find that on the... Go to the Facebook wall and re-watch those programs. Both programs are pretty short. I don't think neither one actually reach an hour. They hit pretty close to an hour, but I don't think any of them reach beyond an hour apiece. So hopefully you guys can go watch those programs from Tuesday, April 14th. April 15th, no programs, and April 22nd, there are no morning programs for Wednesday morning. We have a late night show on Thursday the 23rd, and a big super clubhouse April 25th, and this coming Saturday, April 18th, there is a late night show, which the time that you see on Facebook, it says 10 p.m. Well, that will be changed, and the change, you will start seeing it probably by tomorrow evening on Facebook. All right, we're going to go to the call. We're going to listen to this nonsense, and then I'll end the recording as soon as this is done and over with. So here it is. Listen to this. They're still talking about the event. Ridiculous event. Cost $250 to go to this event, and that doesn't even include a free beer or a free drink or cover your meal. That's just to get a ticket inside the door. That doesn't cover nothing else. That doesn't even cover your room or anything. Isn't that weird? Anyways, for $250, boy, I could do a trip for $250. I can go to Los Angeles or San Francisco or Las Vegas or Phoenix, Arizona for that much. At least right now, during this pandemic of the coronavirus. I think our country is in a toilet paper virus because people buy the toilet paper as fast as they come out.
Charlie said it earlier, we're really needed out there. So, we really need to dive into this literature and...
All right, here's the bragging about here's a bragging about what they're talking about. I'll let you guys go to the call. Here we go.
Control it. You know, government can't stop us. Nobody can stop the movement of neothink, but neothinkers. That's it. It's up to us to take this out there, and nobody can stop us if we all become integrated, conscious beings, and believe in this, and we go after it. That's it. Let's do it. All right.
Let's
Sage.
do it.
Let's do it. Thank you, Sage.
Thank you, guys.
Good to hear you.
Great to hear you guys.
Man, we should be seeing this face to face here.
Yes, yes, I see you the sailboat, Charlie, and I've got my big huge picture on the wall with my seagull coming into the beach. So I was ready to be in San Diego too today.
Yeah, we all would have been there today. Oh well. So we can't, but that doesn't mean we can't have a good call tonight here. We are in the Neotech 2 Key book, which is the Frank R. Wallace collection. If you find the Golden Helmet, which I think is the third book in here, I believe, it's after the Golden Helmet, because it starts with the letter A. It's called a fifth dimension paradigm that guarantees limitless personal wealth and romantic love. So that's where we are starting tonight. And the next page says, a glimpse from the fifth dimension. Ooh. Riches and romance guaranteed for life when entering the exotic, erotic fifth dimension. According to the latest string quantum theories, the universal laws of physics comprise up to 11 dimensions of object reality. Until now, you have known and experienced only 4 dimensions of conscious life. And then it has 5 buttons on this page, and it says, first, push button number 5 below to enter the erotic, exotic fifth dimension. And then push buttons 1 through 4 to collect wealth, guarantee for life, power guarantee for life, youth guarantee for life, sex guarantee for life. Now, if that doesn't get you excited, nothing will. Wealth, power, youth, sex, and the erotic and the exotic fifth dimension. That's what we're going to be talking about the next couple of weeks here.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It gets me excited.
Yes.
So he starts out with, I'm going to try and move over these first couple of pages rather quickly. Of course, there is some good stuff coming up, and we don't have all that much time. But he says here, I stared at the above 5 buttons printed above in 2 dimensions. The Neothink publications are likewise printed in 2 dimensions on sheets of paper. I, as many thousands of Neotech owners, knew buttons 1 to 4 existed in the Neotech discovery. I, as most owners of Neothink, or tech, learn how to move those flat buttons into the 3 dimensions of one's own life. We then learn from Neotech how to use those buttons in the 4th dimension of time for traveling space, for traversing space within Earth's irrational anti-civilization. On pushing through those 4 buttons, we affected justice, we exploited Earth's mystics and neo-cheaters to gain wealth, power, health, and romantic sex. Everyone benefited, 10% big time, 40% greatly, and 50% marginally. A survey of 500,000 Neotech owners revealed that most pushed the 4 buttons to wealth, power, health, and romantic love. Of those, an estimated 10% benefited big time, 40% benefited greatly, and 50% benefited marginally. The question has always been, why doesn't everyone benefit big time? And the answer is the struggle. Okay? We learned that achieving wealth, power, health, and romantic love is, in an anti-civilization, is a struggle. A constant struggle against the harmful forces of irrationality. And this is where your desire comes in. You've got to want it. This is your life. This is what I've been preaching for, seems like forever. Where is your desire to change your life? And again, if you don't benefit from this, you have no one else to blame but yourself. And that sounds harsh, but that's the reality of it. This is tough love here. Yes, we're in this anti-civilization. It's hard to understand all this. It's hard to find the time to read these books. And there's a lot of reading. And oh man, I don't know how I'm going to read all these books. And it's all I hear every day. But if you're understanding it, who cares? You're excited about it. So you always got to measure how bad do you want to change your life. Everybody comes here like, oh, I'm excited, man. This is going to change my life. And then after reading like half of the first book or something, oh man, this is a lot of reading and that, you've got to fight through that. You got to say, this is my chance to finally live the life that I want to live. All right, so you have to keep plugging away at this. You have to start to separate now from this anti-civilization. But how do you convert your realizations and feelings into guaranteed riches and sexual love? With or without that struggle, the detachment everyone still experiences the ultimate loss, the unnecessary loss of power, health, and then life itself. We have gotten so used to losing all these powers over our years. Those losses to the parasitical and criminal classes have always been the mortal problems of human life on Earth. Earth's anti-civilization is the theater of the absurd. All right? And Frank Wallace, he comes out with some great sayings. Cockroaches and blimps of absurdity. That's the next chapter, right? With that detachment from Earth's anti-civilization, one increasingly sees its rulers and their subjects undergo Kafka-like metamorphoses. All right? One sees Earth parasitical elite rulers mutate into giant, criminally manipulating cockroaches, living through automatic dishonesties. Cockroaches, permanent entities of the anti-civilization. One sees the parasitical supporters of those rulers mutate into unhealthy, fat-free, carbohydrate stuffed blimps living through politically correct irrationalities. Blimps, new mutations in the anti-civilization. The absurdity of life in the anti-civilization becomes especially vivid when juxtaposed against the civilization of the universe. Then how does one convert the absurdity into guaranteed riches? Frank Wallace, I think to me, sometimes sounds crude, but he wants to slap you in the face over and over again by using these outrageous words like cockroaches, blimps, humanoids, all these things that he says because it's absurdity. It's a mess. And that's what keeps us down. And we have to struggle through this every day. And that's why a lot of us don't succeed. So he says, from the absurd to the sublime. Today, with the release of these protocols, and that's what we're going to be covering, any neotech owner, and I like how he says that, neotech owner, you got to own this information. You just don't read it, you own it, you live it. And he has been saying that throughout this, he says, as most owners of neotech, we have to look at neotech and neothink and say, do I own this information? Do I own this? Is this my life or not? And if you don't feel that way, then you're not owning it, which means that you don't know it. So even those little words that they use in here, you have to, why does he say that? As any neotech owner can bypass that struggle, the absurdity of the anti-civilization to prosper big time. How? By tapping the laws of physics as described in the protocols. One gains limitless riches available beyond the dimensions of Earth's millennium. Yeah, I'm not sure how to even pronounce that word, so I'm not even going to bother with it. I should have looked at it, but I did skip over this one. Basically, it's bizarre mythicisms and criminalities, riches available from the fifth dimension of the cyberspace business universe. With these protocols, every Neothink owner, not just 10%, can succeed big time. These protocols are very, very important. It can help us break through and have another breakthrough. All right? So then he goes into scientific documentation, and it's ironclad guarantee. And this is where he starts to prove everything again. All right? The limitless is the civilization of the universe. He says all comes from limitless and all returns to it, said Thales. It's a person said that 625 BC. The limitless is the civilization of the universe. Thus begins the development of non-mystic views of existence 2,600 years ago. That scientific development advanced universal facts which enrich humans' existence through liberated reason. That scientific development replaced the story-ending Homeric views which enslaved humans throughout those authoritarian dogma. We have been controlled forever, it seems like. I don't think man has ever been free since man's been on this planet. Never. They've always been ruled by someone or something. If it wasn't man, it was the gods. And if it wasn't the gods, it was something else. So what is neotech physics? Because that's what he wants to get into now. Don't we just have physics, universal physics? We don't have German physics, Jewish physics, or Mayo physics. Yet, indeed, we do have neothink physics, just as we had pre-Socrates physics. We have such specified physics with an entirely new dynamic of thought and knowledge is introduced. I mean, he's actually saying neothink has physics. He invented these physics, or not invented them, but discovered these physics out of the laws of nature. And he put that into neotech. All right? So that we can move beyond any irrational anti-civilization with these protocols, brings one into the previously unknown and unexperienced fifth dimension. We're going to be hitting different dimensions here. Think about that. Where else can you go and learn this stuff? Who else is doing this tonight? All right, well, everybody's home, but nobody's learning. That the new dimension is the entrance into the civilization of the universe. More specifically, coming from fifth dimension, the protocols deliver wealth, power, health, fitness, and romantic love without the previous struggle, without the 2,300 years of interference from the parasites, mystics, and criminals who infest Earth's anti-civilization. And he says, what is the exotic, erotic fifth dimension? The fifth dimension lies in a separate realm, separate from the space-time dimensions of Earth's anti-civilization. During Dr. Wallace's 6-year development of the protocols, that exotic, erotic fifth dimension arose unexpectedly. It was an entirely new entity, never before imagined on this planet. All right, this is new information. Nobody ever came up with this before, and how many times has Frank Wallace done that? That fifth dimension is now emerging through cyberspace. Stepping into those rising fifth dimension, one becomes free from the oppressive space-time boundaries of the anti-civilization. Within the new fifth dimension, nothing remains from the anti-civilization. Wow. Nothing exists that limits or harms anyone in the fifth dimension. One is free of the irrationalities of force-backed government, criminalities, and mystic stroud religious frauds. One is joyously free of being a stranger, free of I think this is it's a man's name. I think it's pronounced Camus. He's from France. Um, for, free of his detachment, indifference, boredom, absurdity. When one steps, wait a minute, I got it right here. Yeah, he was a French writer. He died in 1960. But the one thing, now this is why Frank R. Wallace has him here. He says his idea is simple. Human beings are caught in a constant attempt to derive meaning from a meaningless world. This is the paradox of the absurd. That was his philosophy, because he knew that this world had no meaning. So we are caught in an attempt to derive meaning from a meaningless world. And that was his, the reality of limitless riches and romantic excitement rose to difficult levels. Riches and excitement rise beyond expressions like awesome and mind-boggling. So that's why he quoted him. I think they pronounced his name Camus. He was a French writer, but he was born in Algeria. Fascinating. I have read about him before. He had a fascinating way of putting things. And this is going to take us now into, this is like a slingshot losers into riches and romance. On glimpsing the fifth dimension, one will meet Frank R. Wallace. Professionally, he has left the anti-civilization and will not return. He will not again publish in that irrational civilization, yet he delivers the highest values. He delivers new knowledge that benefits those who acquire it. Wallace's protocols delivers the knowledge to exist today, losing civilization and slingshot into the limitless prosperity, power, health, and romantic love of this exotic fifth dimension discovered in cyberspace. All right, so I like that. He has left the anti-civilization, Frank R. Wallace, and will not return. Don't we all wish that we could say that? So, let's go in now to the NeoThink protocols, and he has the contents here, and he talks about what's coming up, but we're going to go right into them. NeoThink protocols for a new civilization, and I'm going to really start down on the bottom of that page. So I'm on page 1 now. That was all. Everything up until here was, I think it was just letters. So now we're on page 1 in here. Man's first paradigm shift was from the bicameral mind to the conscious mind. Professor Julian Jaynes wrote book, The Origins of Consciousness and the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind, and he published that in 1976. And Dr. Frank R. Wallace's book, The Neotech Discovery, 1986, both identified that first paradigm shift. Both books reveal how and why man's automatic animal bicameral mind quantum jumped to a volitional human conscious mind under the life and death survival pressures 3,000 years ago. If you haven't had a chance yet to buy Julian Jaynes' book, The Origin of Consciousness and the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind, you're doing yourself harm. It's a tough book to read, but it costs like under $20 to get. You can buy it off of Amazon. And I read it twice, and I could read it again. In fact, I should read it again soon because it's been a while. A lot of what we think here, a lot of what we are being taught here derives from that book. Julian Jaynes, Frank R. Wallace thinks someday that book will be the most important book ever written. So he even puts it above his own because he learned so much from that book that he actually started to base NeoThink. It's based a lot on Julian Jaynes' book. So if you get a chance to read it, do it. Me and Steve actually have covered that book a few times in the past years, and I tell you, man, it got me. It was a lot of work. Anyway, man's second paradigm shift was from theism to deism. Now, let's explain what the two of them are before we go into this. Theism, Theism. It's a belief in existence of a God, an almighty God, a supernatural God that put the universe together. Okay? That's what theism is. But man's second paradigm shift was from theism to deism. And deism is a belief in the existence of a supreme being based on 17th and 18th century that accepted the existence of a creator, but on the basis of reason, not a supernatural, not a supernatural deity. All right, so basically, deism is design, not Almighty God, and that started in the 17th and 18th centuries. So, deism is best described in Thomas Paine's book, The Age of Reason. That's another great book to read too. The Age of Reason by Thomas Paine. It really is. I read it many, many years ago, and that's another one that I still want to read again. Many of America's founding fathers were deitists, including Thomas Jefferson, who penned into the Declaration of Independence the universal sentence, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Deism was the most radical shift in conscious thought since the bicameral mind jumped into the conscious mind 3,000 years before. Deism rejects Judeo-Christian ethics involving an intruding, vengeful God. Before deism, Jewish and Christian beliefs posted an intruding God who ordered every specific action in the universe. John Calvin best described the theist conception with the idea that God commands every specific action on earth, from each leaf that falls to each blade of grass that grows. For those deists, God intrudes into everything that happens on earth and throughout the universe. Now, by contrast, the deists conceive God as the perfect watchmaker. For the deists, a deity flawlessly created the universe, wound it up with the physical laws of nature to so ingeniously that everything could henceforth advance by itself according to the laws of nature. So do you see why now we're starting to understand where Neothink gets its philosophy, where it comes up with what they have come up with. It's all rational. It all makes sense. After creating his universe, the deity had no need or motivation to interfere. He had more important things to do with his time and energy. He had to move on to create even greater value creations elsewhere. By contrast, the repairman theist God seems less perfect, less powerful, and less malevolent than the flawless creator. And less malevolent than a flawless creator deity. Moreover, the theist God made a flawed universe since he had to angrily consume his time and energy by constantly rushing in to create, adjust, and brutally punish those subjects who did not believe and obey on faith. Okay? Lastly, the beliefs of theists rested in specific books or scriptures written by authorities of the past, validated by the test of time. They believed in faith and dogma dictated by the words and scriptures of other authorities. Challenging that conception, deist philosophers, Hume and Voltaire, asked what would be the dogmatic beliefs of a theist if he or she had been educated and lived in distant lands in different cultures. Those deists then answered their own question by identifying that such unchangeable beliefs would change would be different in other cultures and circumstances. Thus, dogmatic beliefs and theist faith were related to circumstances was not rooted in the big word, reality. All right, I suggest that you read this again. It really digs in here, and Frank R. Wallace didn't come up with what my personal belief is. Jesus walked on earth, but he wasn't a supernatural God that the church made him out to be. And I'm just making this up as I go. He didn't do that. He based everything on rationality. He based everything on science. He based everything on other, Julian Jaynes' book, which is like the Bible of common sense, the Bible of proof. I mean, it took Jaynes years to write that book, and flying all over the world and investigating this and investigating that, and real, objective reality, not just written by men who hundreds of years after Jesus walked the earth, and then they wrote their Bible. So we have to look at this and say, wow, time did go fast here today. The beliefs of the theists were subjective, specified, and arbitrary. Their beliefs were based on the proclaimed authority of ancient men and their scriptures. Okay? Ancient men and their scriptures. That's what the Bible's based on. That's what religion is based on. All right? By contrast, the deist ideas were objective, generalized, and principled. Their ideas were based on the laws of nature and objective knowledge discovered, not invented. All right? Knowledge by objective knowledge discovered, not invented. By men through Aristotle and perceptions and Lacine, I'm not sure who that is, using the universal laws of nature, not dogma of man, anyone in any land, time, or culture could access the same authority, the same laws of nature and physics, to come away with agreement about consistent facts and objective knowledge. Oh, I love that. I'm going to stop there for tonight. Well, I knew we don't have a lot of time, but your thoughts on what I covered so far.